I initially, used to maintain three diaries. It's an oft-repeated question which I would suggest to all budding writers. Number one, one should have a good vocabulary. So a diary where try to note down 20 new words every day, which you don't know the meanings. Then a diary which has where you can note down some 20 quotations, 20 new quotations, and then another diary which has various plots. So I was sticking to that schedule, and even now, I mean, those I don't have a formal diary, but on my smartphone, I keep noting down these things.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to yet another episode of the Book Talkies podcast. Our mission for the Book Talkies is to spread the joy of reading. And joining us in our mission today is Mr. Ravi Valluri, who is a civil servant. He is currently the CEO of Chhattisgarh East Railway Limited. He is Art of Living teacher, and he has authored more than 10 books. So a true story of converting a passion into a side profession. Ravi, welcome to the Book Talkies podcast.
Thank you very much to be here.
You have authored 10 books. Where do you find time to write those books?
I think it's the grace of my master, my spiritual master, His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who had asked me to write, and I was very lucky. He unveiled my first book, that is called The Matter of the Mind. That was a huge occasion where more than 50,000 people were there, and Gurudev had himself released that.
That is fantastic, sir. You have a day job. You have written 10 plus books, and those 10 plus books are not sequels of one being a follow-up to another, and they are not in one genre. They are across fiction, non-fiction. You have written a book about the Prime Minister, his words to victory. You've talked about books which are focused on Buddhism. You've also written books like, as you said, some which are based on real life stories. I think really inspiring for us to see that alongside a full-time profession, you've been able to make so much time to be able to write. Wanted to just understand from your perspective, where and how did this writing journey for you start?
There is a video by Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar who talks about, spirits and souls, as to why certain people are born and what do they do. Like there's an evolution starting from animal life right up to a guru, various phases like devatas and etc. etc. So he says that as per that video, and I'm sure if people do watch that video, it's on spirits, nothing negative, positive thing. Spirits are all those who are in the art field. Essentially, he calls them, they are Gandharvas. So, and that is the reason why they are in this particular field of writing, which we are not aware about. I mean, if you watch that video in detail, one would know. Secondly, I would say, again, he has mentioned, and as an Art of Living teacher, that, the human brain has two hemispheres, the left and the right. The right hemisphere talk is essentially about creativity, art, etc. The left hemisphere is on logic. So when the right hemisphere is predominant, then you go into the art field. Now, this is what Gurudev says. As far as I'm concerned, I had this interest in writing or reading way back from my school days when I was in St. Xavier's School, Delhi. I had participated in various music theatre workshops conducted by Barry John, Paramveer, Pankaj Kapoor. I was actively involved in National School of Drama. So I had participated there, and my interest began in theatre, music and writing. Then I joined the civil services and I could not continue, though I had initially written a couple of plays which were staged at Railway Staff College. Now it is called NAIR. And I had these plays which I had written were staged. unfortunately, I couldn't pursue that passion for writing. I became an alcoholic. And it was a very long period, almost 17 years or so. And I gave up alcoholism on December 9th, 2006. So I've been sober since then. And meanwhile, I had done this first course of art of living that was in 2004. And after my recovery, I started writing. I had first written for Life Positive magazine, and those articles were seen by Free Press Journal Mumbai, and they were quite inspired. And they had asked me to write about human mind. And at that time, I showed those articles to Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who blessed me. So he said, "You have this talent, you keep writing, and soon your books would be published." And on the day of Navratri, my first book, The Matter of the Mind, that was unveiled by Gurudev. That was a very, great feeling to be in by the master himself in a crowd of more than 50,000 where he performs the pujas. So that's how my journey began. And number one, I would say it's the grace. Secondly, my interest in writing and being involved deeply, say, in yoga, meditation, pranayama, sudarshan kriya. That itself gives me a lot of time. So I'm able to finish my work fast, and I devote every day. I write about 700 to 800 words. You try to stick to that schedule as far as possible, and that's how it's happening. Initially, I was writing non-fiction. It was my own story. Then writing about yoga, pranayama, meditation, sudarshan kriya, on these aspects. They were picked up, as I said, by all these papers, Life Positive magazine, Free Press Journal. I managed to write for the Hindu, and there's another portal in Andhra. It's called the Sakshi Post. Then for the Speaking Tree, and automatically, all this. I could collect all this material, which went on and got converted into books. I initially, used to maintain 3 diaries. It's an oft-repeated question which I would suggest to all budding writers. Number one, one should have a good vocabulary. So a diary where try to note down 20 new words every day, which you don't know the meanings. Then a diary which has where you can note down some 20 quotations, 20 new quotations, and then another diary which has various plots. So I was sticking to that schedule, and even now, those I don't have a formal diary, but on my smartphone I keep noting down these things, and that's how those ideas keep coming. And next, being in the Indian Railways, I could travel to so many places. I have worked on 8 zonal railways. Normally, which I find people don't do, Somebody would like to be all the time, say, in Delhi or Mumbai or, say, Chennai and the metros. But I have worked in all very small places. I began my career at Ambala, and right now I'm at Raipur. So I have visited practically every part of the country. And while traveling and visiting all these places, I got, so many ideas which helped me to write. Like when I had written a book on the mind, I at that time was, taking courses for alcoholics, drug addicts at a rehabilitation center at Gorakhpur. So what was happening to them? So I got those ideas. Then we were conducting these courses of art of living. Everything has been associated with that. For, say, loco pilots and TTs and others, the problems they go through, like sleepless nights, being away from their family. So you keep getting so many ideas, and I've been very fortunate that my books have been translated into various languages. Like the book on the Prime Minister that was translated in Kannada. Suddenly I got a call from the president of BJP of somewhere in Karnataka. He said, we want this book to be translated into Kannada. So it got translated. Then this Magic of Mind was translated by somebody into Telugu. Then the award which I received yesterday, this one, the Magic of the Mind. This, I was in Chennai at that time, and that got converted into, that's been translated into Tamil, and so on. So, and then the collection of short stories, my first collection of short stories was Heartbreak at Coffee Shop. That was translated in Hindi. And another one is being done by, he's a TV producer in Hyderabad. So he's translating The Tale of Paddles into Hindi. So maybe traveling to so many places, my association in art of living, all that has helped. What Guruji says that opposite values are complementary. Like for instance, something very good has happened. Be prepared that something else would happen. It may be erases your karma or whatever. I'm just talking about, we received this award yesterday. My wife was also there, who edits all my books. Yes, and I'll come to that a little later. Now, a very interesting thing happened yesterday, rather very shocking. Now, terrifying. We were coming from Delhi to Raipur, and on the flight, I think we had traversed a lot of distance, and suddenly when we were approaching Raipur, we ran into turbulent weather. Now, for 40 minutes, we were in the aircraft, and the pilot was swerving up and down. I tell you, it was one of the most terrifying moments. And he said there was zero visibility at Raipur, and in all likelihood, we would go to some other airfield. So it was such a, I cannot tell you. And finally, he landed at Raipur. It was his dexterous skills, how we maneuvered the flight, and we landed, and in unison, people cried out to their gods, and Jai Shri Ram, Har Har Mahadev, whatever. And it was, immediately I posted that today in some WhatsApp groups, and they said, well, it happens, and people said, all kinds of, I got feedback. So that's what it's, what I do, and I'm sure other aspiring authors can do, and I'm sure the great authors definitely do. These are things which, one should focus on, because something or the other is going on, as life is not straight, like what Buddha says, white or black. There's a vast shade of grey in it. So explore the grey. And this particular book, Bombay Review and Other Stories, this is a collection of short stories which has been released recently. It's been published by Lead Start Publications. It's one of the top publishers in India. It deals on the darker side of human personality. And my father had, way back, told me that you should read two books, C. Rajagopalachari's Ramayana and Mahabharata. Those were one of the first two books which I had read. And I draw a lot of inspiration from Mahabharata. Then Zen stories, that is another thing which I draw a lot of inspiration from. And the quotations of Sun Tzu and Confucius, that these are some areas where I do my research from. And since I have written so much on mind, I have read a bit of psychology and tried to gather plots on that.
Ravi, recently Anirudh introduced a book to me called as Courage to be Disliked. I'm not so sure if you know about that book. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you mentioned about mind and the psychology books that you have read, and certain psychologies that somehow inspire you, and that is what translates back into your books. Courage to be Disliked, in my opinion, is like be happy with what you are, but still don't stop pursuing the greatness that you can become. People don't look at these both things together, right? When someone says that be happy with what you are, that means you get very complacent with where you are. But the second statement to that is you still keep pursuing the real hero in you. It's the next jump that you are always have to keep taking, and somehow that book translates into that. So I mean, if you haven't picked that up, I think you would be very, very interested.
Question from my side, Ravi, is more around budding authors or aspiring authors. You've written quite a lot of books, both in the fiction, non-fiction genre. From the first book that you wrote to the latest one that you have now written, what are some tips that you would really want to give outside of a couple of books which you said were your go-to books from an inspiration point of view, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata? What are some things which you would really recommend to budding authors when they are really starting, if they don't have a plot or a storyline, or if they already have a plot, how to really go about writing a book? Based on your experiences and journey, if you can give us some thoughts there, that would be nice.
I would say that there are some, platforms like in India. I don't know. Of course, this platform is in US. It's called the Read Prompts. It's and I do that every day. Every Friday they announce a prompt. They give 5 prompts. So I have made a whole collection of those prompts, and they're very fascinating prompts. Like a man in a boat. That's just the prompt, and you have to write something on it. So similarly, here in India, you have platforms like Story Mirror, then Penmancy. They give prompts. So all budding authors who are maybe in search of a plot or some thought, they can visit these platforms, or I would suggest they should visit these platforms, say Penmancy, then HC Prompts, then Story Mirror. Likewise, there would be prompts everywhere. And then attend writers' workshops, which would be beneficial. You keep reading, keep writing. There's no other shortcut. You have to keep reading, you have to keep writing. Another thing for authors is reviewing of books. That gives you a lot of, idea. Not only do you read a book, you also review a book.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Ravi. You have a very inspirational life, very inspiring thoughts, a lot of discipline, which to be able to write, to be able to read on a daily basis. It was a pleasure having you here. A very delightful conversation. Lots for us to learn as avid readers, but also for potential budding authors.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.